I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne, the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us.
What's up, Mysonne Lena? How you doing today?
I'm black, blessed, and highly favored Tamika D. Mallory. How are you feeling?
Doing good. I'm just life is happening. That's it. You see my new what is this? My new background that Janice created. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, it look cute. I need one. I gotta get me specially made one.
It's in the chat. It's
No,
in the
with my
chat,
own. That's yours. No, I need my
Oh,
own
this is
special one.
this. What do you mean? We're gonna have different
Yes.
backgrounds
So it can be.
for TMI.
I
What are
need
you talking
custom.
about?
I need a custom
No,
background for me.
that's not how it works. If you want to change your background, then I have to change
No,
mine
you
because
don't. We can have
we
two.
have to
If we're
have.
not in the same place, we can have two custom. Look, I got a different background now. You got one.
Yeah, but no, the TMI logo. It's anyway. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
get
I would
into no
love to have
back
the
and forth
TMI
with you on
logo, but I
that.
just want a different wall. Let my wall be bricks or something. Like I'm in the
Okay.
hood with
Well,
graffiti on
I
the
can
wall or
I can
something.
go to the bricks. You see how I'm not married to one
But this
thing or
looks
the
good for
other.
you. I'm just trying to say for
Oh,
me,
it
I
looks
just
good
want
for me.
it
Oh,
not it's not saying it don't look good for me, but I just like that it's yours. And I would like to have
okay.
me a custom made background. That's
For
it. It's no
those people who are listening and not watching, we have new backgrounds so that we can be out in the world and not have the people walking by and all of the craziness that goes on. Y'all know that it is about to be midterm elections, and we don't have time to sit at the house or in the studio in one place. We got to move around, honey, because the people need to be at the booth voting in a few months. And no, we cannot wait until 2 weeks and 3 weeks before an election to get folks out there. So we are on the road, we on the move, we outside. I am coming to y'all live from Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm gonna tell you, my son, as soon as I land in Memphis, the first thing I want to do is get the breakfast. And then after the breakfast, I want to go for lunch. They have this great hummus spot, and hummus is actually good for you, but it's all the stuff you throw on the hummus that messes it up. And then after the hummus, then and later on, I like to have the greasy ribs and just all the good stuff. And I just can't do that because I changed my life. And so this is it's interesting drinking water instead of getting me some good old iced tea. It's Memphis. They got the best iced tea.
get you some agua. Got me a
I'll
little
drink.
cup of agua right here.
Mm-hmm. Anywho, let's get this show going. We have a big guest coming on today, and I'm excited to have her. So we don't have a lot of time, but I did want to just talk about. First of all, it's two things I think we need to mention before we get into the show. Number one, congratulations to Tiana Taylor. You know, I
TT.
I have had the pleasure of being in space with Tiana Taylor many times. At this point, now even her mom, who I just love, I adore all of them. Now, she's actually a personal friend of yours. And while I can't say we're personal friends, I can say that she's a good sister that every time I see her, there is nothing but love. And she's just so special and so kind, and she's just a regular girl, like, just and it's so many of us that's like that. I was at a premiere event that Sherry Shepherd invited me to, my other sister who I love so much, and Tiana was there. Taraji was also, and they were in a movie called Straw, and so this was the premiere. And everybody, Bev Smith, and Tamron Hall, and who else, Notori was there. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. In fact, I was looking in the room like, okay, they invited me, and I do that all the time. And I know people will be like, what do you mean, it's it whatever, but I always say it. And so that's just a part of how God keeps me humble, that I realize it is an incredible honor for that type of group to invite me and have me in this small space that didn't have more than 60 people. And there are people I'm sure I'm forgetting. But while I was in the room and I was talking to all of these different women, I just was so, um, my heart just was so big on how nice we were to one another, right? And some people will say, well, they was just like that because it was you. No, actually, that's not true. I've been in a lot of spaces where I leave feeling like, why did I go there? These people didn't make me feel good. They're rude. You go to speak to them, and it's like, ugh, what? Maybe when they figure out who you are, they're a little bit nicer, but I don't like that. I'm not a person. If you're not going to be nice to everybody in the room, or at least be cordial, I don't all of a sudden start trying to be cool with me when you realize, oh, that's Tamika Mallory, or somebody has to say that. Johnny Nunez, the historic photographer, is the best at going to people and saying, wait a minute, what do you mean? You need to take a picture with Tamika, and he'll be talking to, like, I don't know, Oprah, and telling them like, no, she's the plug. She's the one you need to talk to, right? And so I've been in spaces where I've been introduced to people, and then the energy shifts. And I don't I that turns me off completely, because I'm just not that type of person. But in this room, not one person made me feel like we weren't all just sisters and all on the same level, no matter your financial status, or how many followers you have, or how many, or how many screens you're on. We all felt like it was a real sisterhood. And Tiana, I know she's a very guarded person, but she was just so beautiful and sweet and kind in that room. And I just remember thinking that day that the universe owes her so much. Like, the universe just owes her a rain down of not just success, because she already has that, but just blessings on blessings on blessings, her mother, her family. And so to see her up there in her real, she didn't go up to the stage at the Golden Globes and act like, yeah, that's right, I know, that's what's up, it's me. No, she went up there with so much humility, tears, everything, just pouring herself out. And it made me real proud to be a Harlem girl. And it just made me proud to know that there are still sisters like her who are out here treating people right. And even though things might not always work out as you wanted to, she's still showing up in the world as a powerful and beautiful force. And so I'm really proud of her. Congratulations. And just God bless her on her journey. The universe is paying her back for what she has deposited.
Man, that's like my little sister, man. I had the pleasure of going on tour. Shout out to my brother Game. He took us on tour years ago, and we were on tour for like almost 2 months together. And during that, we just grew a bond. Like, I just made sure that she was safe. We would connect on music. We talked about certain things, and she always been a talented individual and a real down to earth individual. So
Yeah.
watching her constantly just blossom and bloom into this person I always knew she was going to be, because she knows everything about entertainment, from music to choreography, to just pays attention to detail. Like, she used to be there before doing her rehearsals. Like, she was always professional and at a young age, and she wasn't even 20, 21 years old at that time. So just watching her grow into this, and every time I see her, it's the same love. She comes up to me, hugs me, my brother, we talk. So I am so proud and happy for her. Like, I literally shed a tear when I watched her,
I did
and I
too.
and I seen her give that speech, because that is Tiana for real.
Yeah, she started out by saying, "Praise be to God," and I was like, "That's it. Like, long as you know that,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can't go wrong once you know from which your help is coming." I guess I know they say it a different way. The holy people got it right, but the bottom line is, when you know that God is the one, then you understand you're connected to a source. And she is definitely connected to a source. And so, again, just super proud, super proud, super proud of our dear sister and your friend. So the other thing, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but I thought that it would be important for us to acknowledge the murder of two individuals in the last week by ICE. um I don't, they say they're agents. I don't even know what you call these people, but by ICE, I guess we'll just leave it there. And that is, of course, Renee Good, and then Keith Porter. And, Keith Porter was killed in California on New Year's Eve by an ICE person who they say was acting like a police officer. There's a lot of details to this story, and I was told the other day that some of what I know is not accurate based upon media reports. So I don't want to mess up by trying to give too many details about all of that is surrounding Keith's what happened to Keith. His mom was at a press conference that I didn't get a chance to watch because I saw it as I was dozing off to sleep last night. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to find it. I've already posted some stuff in collaboration with BLM Los Angeles, led by Melina Abdullah. And I'm going to continue to do that because we have to make sure that Keith Porter's story rises to the level of an international news story, right? Like we need to make sure that people all over the world know that a Black man was killed on New Year's Eve by an off-duty ICE person who, as I said, was supposedly acting as if he was a police officer. And I don't even know what that means. And again,
I heard he was
please.
actually even off duty. He wasn't even working. And
Right, he was off duty. Yeah. So, and that's why I'm saying I'm going to go back and I'm going to dig into all the details of what happened to him and really make sure that on this show we give Keith Porter the type of respect that he should receive. So, by next week we actually need to try to have Melina Abdullah or a family member or someone on who can just talk to us about what happened to Keith Porter in his life. At the same time, we know way, 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 way details about what took place with Renee Good. And I found it interesting that someone thought it made sense to release additional footage of or the footage from the ICE person's camera of them filming the incident. And I don't know if they thought they ate by posting that, but actually it just reaffirmed what we already knew, which is that she wasn't in a contentious fight with the officer. She was actually just kind of telling them like, basically you ain't shit and I'm out and that's it. And she was moving away. I'm sure that when her side door, which her wife clearly opened, when it opened, her attention kind of went to the side, which is the same side that she was driving out, where she was driving out. And those officers was just like the Wild Wild West. And so, I noticed that I remember you mentioning a couple of days ago, which again, I haven't been that tapped in, but I remember you mentioning that the officer had been something happened to him
yeah,
before,
they
like
said that the officer had got into a situation to where a car dragged him and he had to get 20 stitches in his leg.
the ICE person.
The
I ain't
ice
gonna call him an
person.
officer. Yeah. So he already was dragged recently, which means that he probably has PTSD also. So he should definitely not even be working and forget
He
about
shouldn't.
PTSD. Although I'm gonna give him PTSD, right? Because if you drag me, I'm gonna have a little bit of PTSD. But I'm not even gonna give him that. I mean, I'm gonna put that to the side. And again, I'm still gonna say there's some PTSD associated with the car and the dragging or whatever, but also anger, right? So like you're starting off with being pissed off, you calling somebody a fucking bitch, you already are going through whatever you're going through,
But the
either
thing is,
from,
he called her a fucking bitch after he shot her.
right. So I'm
So it
just
wasn't
saying,
like he was angry and then he shot her. And once you shoot somebody, the level of empathy and compassion on them, I just shot somebody, even fear or like wow, I shot somebody. This person might not be alive. The fact that you shot this person and then had that level of anger, that means that it was intentional. That means that you had a level of aggression that didn't even subside after you knew that you had shot this person. It's just
yeah,
unreal
well,
to me. That's crazy to me.
yeah, see, I don't think that when he said it matters. I think that he said it is all you need to know about his mindset. And again, the anger that is associated with the job, the fact that people hate you, they don't respect you. You know that what you're doing is 100% wrong. All of that stuff wrapped up together. And then you have these two women who are clearly telling you that basically you're an impotent piece of trash just by the mere fact that you're even out here doing this BS job that you're doing. All of that stuff, and you was just recently dragged. Like you probably are not the person who needs to even be working in this environment and having this role. And so all of that wrapped up in a bow, to me, just tells me more and more about how worse this thing can get, because he's not the only one. And I just wanted to say this for the record. I remember reading the KKK's dismantle, I guess it was when they were dismantling, right? So when the KKK was dismantling, there was some kind of doctrine that kind of went out to the members to say, we can't do what we're doing anymore because, we've been found out, criminalized, demonized. And so, we can't do this. But what we want you to do is to go out and take jobs in fire departments, police departments, go out and spread out and get in law enforcement and other places of power so that you can pretty much still carry out the same mission, but it won't be under this banner of the KKK. And that is exactly, precisely what is happening with ICE right now, is that people who have the ideology that they are above the rest of us, and that immigrants and Black people and brown people and people who come from vulnerable communities can be mistreated, and they can, in fact, inflict upon them white supremacy, which, by the way, it doesn't matter if you're Black, you can still carry out the principles of white supremacy. And they are getting away with that and being rewarded from it with billions of dollars, or being rewarded for it with billions of dollars, because of the same mindset that we might not be able to just go around and kill them on the street, even though they're still doing that. But what we can do is go and embed ourselves in places of power. And ICE has become the new home of an area, an institution that KKK like-minded individuals, no matter the color of their skin, can join and go out and terrorize communities.
This is true, and it's actually sad.
And
It's
It's
actually
it's more
sad.
than sad. It's a crisis of epic proportions. So let me hurry up and get to my thought of the day. Um, So, I have had a conversation with somebody recently about the ICE raids and specifically what's happening in Minneapolis. And, this is a person who has in the past been supportive of Trump, but, she called me and surprised me saying, something here, it just ain't right. Like, I'm not feeling this. And I, of course, went to the first place, which I had to say, we should not be here. And that is because so many people, including you, were folks that either didn't take it seriously, or you believe that, hey, it's bad, but it's not, it's bad, but Trump, he is not gonna be able to get away with all of that stuff because constitutionally, it's just, it can't happen. And now he's showing you that he's not following the Constitution, he's not following laws, and in fact, things are getting worse and worse, and it's quicker and quicker. And so we had this conversation where I realized that a lot of people are starting to come to their senses. But at the same time, her husband, who happened to be there, said to me, I'm just thinking that while I do see some of what is wrong with this situation, I don't understand why we have to, as Black people, even engage, because they're not necessarily doing things in our community, right? It's not necessarily in our community. And on top of everything else, they said I don't see Black people, whatever that means, because the young man that I posted the other day is just as Black as anybody else that I know. Just because he's Somalian, he's still Black. But anywho, they said, he said, and uh, they voted for Trump. The numbers show that people of various racial groups voted for Trump. And so he sent me this list, which of course Somalians wasn't on it, because who's tracking that community specifically? They're sort of in the forgotten, or the uncounted, even those who are, of course, American citizens, which would be the only people that could vote. But nonetheless, that's not one of the big groups that is counted in the data that he shared with me. And of course, I've seen this data, but he made sure to make the case that, people of Latin descent, people from, again, various racial groups, and I'll read some of it to you, that these are people who supported Trump, and that we as Black people, as some people would say, just to say Black Americans, that we were the strongest group against Trump. And therefore, anybody, all of these other groups, like, sort of like, you deserve what you get. And of course, I push back on that 100%, that I don't believe that anybody gets, that they deserve being mistreated, because the government's job is not to siphon off who voted for them and treat them different based upon who voted for you. The government's job is to treat all people equally, and to make sure that all of your policies and everything that you're doing is there to benefit all people, right? And so we're not going to do, well, we can treat certain people a little bit better than others. I wanted to just, for my thought of the day, get into this idea that because certain groups voted overwhelmingly, or at least a little bit more than Black folks, for Trump, that we are in a position to sit back and watch all of this stuff play out and not do anything about it. And I understand so many people are frustrated because we knew, we said, we went out, we walked the streets, we talked to people, we organized, we posted things, we begged folks not to allow Donald Trump to become president. And so a lot of people are grieving, and people are feeling like, I did everything that I was supposed to do, and all I needed you to do was to stand with me against these folks, regardless of whether you love Kamala Harris or not. I bet you there are many people who wish we had Kamala Harris as president right now, at least for the purpose of us having somebody with a little bit of sense that we could communicate with and fight against appropriately. But instead, we're in a war against the ringmaster of the KKK, right? And I know why people are frustrated. I listen to it every day and I understand it. And I know people are trying to rationalize the idea that Black folks will have to go out there in this world and get into a contentious relationship, which we already have, or at least to walk down this death road, because that's what it is, of being out there protesting and standing up against this beast that we are dealing with, and not one person but an entire administration and a party, and some of our members of the Democratic Party, who believe in this ideology of white supremacy that has been killing us since the beginning of our time here in this damn nation. It's not new. It's the same thing. And people are tired of Black folks having to walk that road, because when we walk it, our people die. They kill us. That is what happens. And so I get it. But I want to leave folks with this word, that our children are being traumatized by what they are seeing. Like, the world is being reshaped in a way, and especially us, we here in America, are being reshaped in a way that we will never be able to come back from, or to rewrite this. This where we are in this moment, this nation is being dismantled, and not dismantled in the ways in which we've said we got to tear it all down and build it back up again. That's a different mindset. It is being reconstructed in a way that what they are attempting to do is to put themselves back in the most dominant position in our society, and to make all of the rest of us a second class, third class, fourth class citizenship to white men. The president is out talking about reverse racism. He is speaking to this idea that white people who couldn't get jobs, or were turned away, or they didn't get into a school, that they were being oppressed. right? This is what the president is speaking about right now. This is white supremacy that is playing out in front of the world. He is standing on stages speaking to reverse racism when we know good and damn well that has never, ever been a thing that has existed. So while you may not see a person who doesn't necessarily look like you being attacked or a Renee Good being shot to death in the face, as you don't see it as resonating exactly with your life. What you need to know is that the road we're traveling down is going to come so quick to where one day you wake up and say, oh my Lord, I didn't know it impacted me, and yet it had everything to do with me and my children. My children are traumatized. Their lives have been changed, and they now have less rights than what we had. And we now are in a place where we're going to have to rebuild with our blood, sweat, and tears a nation. And yes, we should rebuild. We definitely can't ever go back to where we were, but we can. And I believe that we are in a situation where the rebuilding is not going to be what people think. It's going to be us fighting for a release from bondage in this nation, because that is what they are trying to do. We are too powerful. We're entrepreneurs. We have Black families. We have too many things that they never wanted us to have. And if there's a project 2025, the underlining mission is to figure out how they can dismantle what Black people have created, even against all the odds. So, my thought of the day today is that we don't get to sit anything out, because what happens to America happens to Black people the most. And when the system crashes, it crushes us at the bottom.
You ain't said nothing but a word. And just to piggyback off of what you said about this reverse racism farce, the numbers is data. Like math is math. You can't out talk math. You can't put words and the reality is when you go to most of these major corporations and you look at the people being hired, the majority are white people, the majority are
That's right.
white men. They've always been the majority
That's right.
everywhere. So to say that because schools and corporations had implemented structures and systems that made it mandatory that qualified black
Mm-hmm.
individuals got jobs,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Black
Get
and
got
others, and
and black
others.
and others,
Mm-hmm.
and other individuals got interviews and jobs and was saying, okay, now you have to make sure that you have at least 10% of these people have to be, because we know that if they make up 13 and 50% of the population, it got to be 10% of them that are
That's right.
qualified. So we want you to make sure
More
that you
than that, but
interview,
yes,
but
that wasn't
exactly.
even enough.
That
Right.
was nowhere near enough. So we
Right.
know that y'all still had 80% and 85% of the job. So when you have this false narrative and you keep on pushing, because that's what they said. If you listen to the media, that have you loving the oppressor and hating the people that's oppressed. And that's
Mhm.
we are really in that day. I never thought that I would see it to the level that I see it now. Ignorance, misinformation, and just false propaganda is taking over this social media and the
That's
media.
right.
And it's moving so fast, and there's so many people spewing, and these people have a machine and they know what they're doing. So, what you said is 100% on point. And I'm just telling people, pay attention, do your own research, because numbers, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't.
Absolutely. I didn't get a chance to read the numbers in terms of all of the stats of who voted which way, but at some point in my mind, I'm thinking that's not even what we're talking about. That's not even relevant to
No,
the issue here. It's
no.
more so about us. I get it though. Black folks are tired. We're tired. We're tired. We
But we can't.
done.
The thing is, as much as we try, and I tell black folks, we can't see other oppressed people and think they're the problem. There's no way that you
Right. At
can
least
look at.
start with that. At least
Yeah,
start with
at
that.
least start with that. At
At
least
least
not
start with that.
when I walk out my door and I see this little Mexican person on the corner and they selling ices or they selling products or they doing this. I don't feel like they've taken anything from me. I don't see them as the problem. I want to know, why do they have to be out there on the corner? Why, if I don't have the proper job, why am I not in a job? Because these people are not my problem. But
Right.
somehow they've tricked us to believe that a person that came here for another life and that we control the world. Because they said that you can't travel here, people shouldn't even be able to travel to different places to where they can thrive and survive and live because they told you that. That is the mindset of white supremacy. White supremacy makes you think that the white people who are in control own this country. So that
Mm.
you get to dictate where people travel. They can't go nowhere. They can't eat. They're not supposed to be able to live. All of these things are not supposed to be able to happen because the white people told you that they drew a line in the sand somewhere so other people can't go there. That's what they have imaginary control of the world. These people have divided this world up into who and what they want it to be, and they
Right.
made you believe that shit. I don't, man. If I should be able to go wherever I want in this world comfortably, God created a whole world. He didn't create no division amongst these people. Did that? That's what white supremacy got you thinking that
Yeah,
you
and I
know.
know when you say people are like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm from here." No, we're not. We're
No,
not
from
from
where? Where the
here.
fuck you
We're
talking about?
not from here.
From
We're
where?
not.
It doesn't even add up. You can't be from here. It just
Yeah,
doesn't.
we're
That's what I'm
not
trying to
from
say.
here. None of us.
None of
None
us
of
is
us are
from here.
from
So that's
here.
what I'm trying to say. When we keep having these conversations, it's so rooted in white supremacist thinking. White supremacy made you believe that people control things that they never controlled. You didn't
Hmm.
control God's earth. You don't have control over this. You don't have dominion over no other person. Like the fact that people think that we live in a society where that is rule and we have adopted that
Hmm.
we've adopted it so much that we think we have superiority and dominion over land where people should be able to survive.
Yeah. Unreal. All right. So we are joined today by my sister, my friend, and someone who has been a fighting resistance leading force in our Congress. Not everybody in elected office is ready to do the work that this sister is doing and bringing the type of attention to herself that she has been receiving. It's not always good. It doesn't feel good. But
Mhm.
Congresswoman Ayyanna Pressley, who is of Massachusetts, she really is from Brooklyn in my mind, but she's she's representing
She
in
definitely got that Brooklyn
Massachusetts.
read with her.
Absolutely, in the 7th congressional district. Thank you so much for joining us, but more than being here on the TMI show, thank you for standing for what's right and for being a powerful sister every single day of your life. We just honor you and we thank you so much.
Thank you, Tamika. I appreciate you so much. And we were talking offline, and I just said, you're in divine alignment for a divine assignment. So we just thank you for saying yes as well and bringing your gifts to the resistance, beyond the headlines and when it's trendy. You
Yeah.
have
Well,
been, you have been so consistent, and for that we thank you. So
all right. Well, let's get
Yes.
into it because there's a lot of stuff that's going on here. And my son said he got all kinds of questions because he don't
No, you know
understand.
what? I don't understand nothing that's going on, but
that's
I,
not
I,
true.
I swear I be wanting to understand, like, because in my what I've learned and the intellect that I've had,
Mhm.
this supersedes that, or it makes me believe that what I've learned doesn't even matter, right? Because we live it in the era of misinformation so much that people just say anything, and I'm getting tweeted and I'm getting DM. Look at this, and I'm like, where did you even get this information from?
Right.
Who
Yeah.
told you this? This is not real at all. There's no way that you
Yeah.
believe this, but it's so many people that believe certain things. How are
So,
you doing today, Queen?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. In this moment, I am okay.
Mm,
But I will tell you, I think the hard part, now I've been in Congress for 8 years. Before that, I was on the city council for 8 years. Before that, I was an aide for 16 years. Been an activist, worked in service industries, done a lot of different things. But the
mhm,
work of movement building and electoral politics, I did not get into that work to just mitigate harm. I,
mm,
I didn't join movement work just to soften a blow.
Mhm.
I want to do that radical work that gets to the root cause of injustice, of inequities, of anti-blackness. And that's why I ran specifically on the federal level, because it has been the contributor to so much harm. So I know people's eyes tend to glaze over when you talk about policy, but policy is personal. Policy is animated in the lives of people every day. And as you see, with the decisions made by our Supreme Court and at the White House by executive action, policies determine who lives, who dies, who survives,
Wow.
who thrives. These are not just static documents that live on a shelf. So how am I doing? I'm weary, but I'm resolved
Mm,
because what I want to get back to the work of advancing progress, not just softening the blows. I want to change and save lives.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think some days I'm struggling by the weight of it because it seems no matter what I do, the response feels woefully inadequate
Mm.
for a moment that is so dangerous.
I saw a meme that's been floating around that says we are severely underreacting
Yeah.
to where we are in this moment. And it seems like no matter what we do, it's like I'm screaming into the atmosphere, hey, hey, everybody. I know Black women are tired. Black folks, we went out, we voted, we did all the things, and people didn't stand with us 10 toes down. And so folks are stressed, aggravated, frustrated. I understand all that and I support you and I stand with you, those people who feel that. Nevertheless, this stuff that we're dealing with, this neo-Nazi, white supremacist mentality is going to end up impacting our children and our grandchildren. And so, therefore, we don't have a choice in my mind but to resist. And resistance looks like supporting you and some of the work that you're doing. It also looks like hitting the streets. Do you think that people should be out protesting and organizing and doing real, like visible resistance work? Or are you one of those people who says, maybe we as Black people shouldn't do so?
Hmm. Yeah, I think our responsibility, first of all, what I know for sure, one thing's for sure, two things for certain. This is not just about how to survive the next 3 years.
Mm,
This is shaping the next 100 years.
right,
And so if
right,
you know that to be true, that is not work that can be left to 213 Democratic members, in the House of Representatives. That has to be the work of everyone.
right.
But you don't have to be a congresswoman or move like a congresswoman. All you have to do is everybody has to bring their gift. So if folks are in your DM, Razan, asking you, is this real? Is this, that is bringing your gift to the resistance to make sure that people are accurately informed. Because the other side, the fascists have made fiction more compelling than fact.
Mm,
So the
mm,
first battle is really a fight
Mm.
for truth. And so, if you're bringing your gift and making sure that you're stewarding this platform so that people are accurately informed, that's incredible. I like to say if I'm giving a speech and somebody makes sure the microphone works, that's bringing your gift to the
right.
resistance.
That's right.
If we're leading the march, but we're fueled and nourished by a brown bag lunch that someone packed, that's them bringing their gift to the resistance. If we safely arrive at our destination because someone set up prayers to cover us, then that's you bringing your gift. So that really is just all it is, but you have to bring it.
Right.
That's the thing, because we have too much evidence that inaction and indifference leads to insurrection.
That's right.
It really does. And you know what's so crazy to me? I listen in awe of you every day. Like I watch you and the way you deliver messages, and then just reading down your resume, and the fact that in this era,
Mm,
right, there are people
mm.
that don't have half the intellect that would say that that you are low IQ and a DEI high. Like to me, like it's like we live in a twilight zone.
We do.
Hmm.
Right. It's really like living in a
I'm
twilight zone.
saying
So
you're very smart. You questioned your intellect. You're like, it wants you to deprogram and unlearn everything you knew previously because they dismantled every norm.
That's
it
right.
really did. So I want to get into this report that you released saying that 85% of the pardons and clemencies that Trump has given out has gone to white men. I've been telling people that as well. And one of these pardons that he given out to the drug lord Juan Orlando
Hmm.
Hernandez from Honduras is mind-boggling to me. Like, please try to give me some understanding of what we're dealing with.
Yeah. Now that he's not white, but that's not the point. It's still the people who need the pardons the most are
Are the
not
people who have
receiving
been
it.
inflicted inside our that have done things in our community that have
Mhm.
shown that they are
Oh, yeah,
rehabilitated, that
right, right.
have shown those things. Those aren't the people that's getting pardons right now. We
And
getting
and
people
and
that's
no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just going to say that one of the claim to fames of the first Trump administration was that they were pardoning well-known Black people, rappers and, others like
it
that. And
was
so
only
we
about
would
three or
be
four of them.
But we were arguing all the time with Black people, like, nah, he
Right.
parted my man, he parted my man,
Right.
you got to understand. And so that's not happening this time. And, your report kind of lays out where their focus has been. So I think the Honduras president is a different issue, but nevertheless, still, the people who are from our community who are wrongfully convicted and all, there seems to be no focus on that. So why don't you talk about the report?
Yeah, I mean, so first and foremost, I started doing the work of fixing our broken clemency system when Biden was in office
Hmm.
and working in coalition with a number of advocates saying when you have the power, you have to use it, and pushing President Biden to use the tool of pardons and commutations and clemency. And in doing so, lives were saved.
Mm,
Were commuted and people were reunited with their family members. So that is an example of using all of that power and storing it for good. One of the things that shows so shocking with these folks is that they have the majority in the House, though it's very thin. They have the majority in the Senate. And they have the White House and they have the courts for all intents and purposes. Why would you have all that majority and choose to use it for harm? I mean,
mm,
that is the really mind-boggling part. We're not idiots. We get that elections have consequences. You have the
hmm,
power, cool. But why do you want to steward it for harm?
mm.
So, and then also the reason why I did this report is because I've been working in this space for a long time. Secondly, I wanted to call out their hypocrisy because you can't say that you care about fraud in Minnesota, but then you are pardoning George Santos, who frauded the people to the tune of $370,000.
Mm,
He's using clemency to do things like pardon corporations. That has never happened. That is
mm,
a first time. The BitMEX Corporation, a crypto corporation, and they had fines to the tune of $100 million, right? And then the drug lord that you're talking about again. So we know what's happening in Venezuela has nothing to do with drugs
that's right.
and is
That's
about
right.
oil and regime change. Just like the state sanctioned violence taking place in our streets by the thugs, mass thugs of ICE, has nothing to do with public safety. So, they think if they just say a thing enough times, that makes it true. That's their little Jedi mind trick. But sunlight is the best disinfectant. And so, what I'm doing is saying, Alice Johnson, who is the
The
czar
pardons are,
in
yeah.
the White House, the pardon czar, who herself is an example of redemption and what can happen when clemency is used righteously,
Properly. Mm,
properly. I am appealing to her and to this White House to say, use the tool of clemency to benefit those who have been harmed the most by mass incarceration. And then on the clemency system, I mean, the application process, the backlog, there's like 17,000 individuals in limbo. And it's not just
mm,
my father was incarcerated for about 14 years. So it's not just that individual's life that's in limbo, it's their entire family. Let me tell you, um, my father is a brilliant man, and he would want me to tell you fine as hell too. Okay, but he's a brilliant man, and he struggled with substance use disorder with a heroin addiction. He committed crimes to support that addiction, was in and out of the criminal legal system for 14 years, but he was gifted, like Mensa gifted. While he
mm,
was incarcerated, he attained two advanced degrees, came out, earned a PhD, became a dean of a college, an associate professor, and a published author. And the most important thing,
mm,
12 years ago, walked me down the aisle to the love of my life. And I had not always known that would be our story because we were estranged
mm,
for many years. But the point is, my father has made incredible contributions to society. And there are so many people behind the wall with that kind of brilliance that is dying on the vine who need
Mm.
to be reunited with their families. And so I'm calling out the hypocrisy of this administration. I'm calling on them to use the tool of clemency, pardons, and commutations, to use them righteously to benefit those individuals and communities that have been most harmed by mass incarceration.
Right. And that doesn't mean you're saying that white folks shouldn't receive pardons and clemency and all of that as well, right? Like, there's some cases, I'm sure. But what we're saying is that what we're seeing across the board from the Trump administration and with his words today, where he is talking about white discrimination or discrimination against white people and reverse racism, what we're seeing is a real surgical and intentional um, pathway towards more white supremacy, right? And when I say white supremacy, people think about laws and rules. I'm talking about supremacy, meaning that they are attempting to return this nation to a place that is 1960, 1950, where we are second class citizens who are begging for our rights versus having the freedoms that we enjoy today, which is not even enough. To your point, we're not even trying to go back, or no, we're not trying to stay here. We're trying to go there. We're trying to go to a better place. And
Right.
they are trying to roll back. When they said make America great again, words matter. And they meant that. It was a mantra that wasn't just some cool thing to, dance to. And let me not do the dance because the dance supposedly got Maduro, the Venezuelan president, picked up because they said Trump didn't like him doing the dance. But it's just a dangerous time, and we could stay here and talk all day. But I do want to make sure that before we go, that we
Mhm.
have an opportunity to talk about Black women and the unemployment rate. Now, it's interesting that you were um, lobbying or advocating for Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve
Mhm.
to make a statement about the Black women unemployment rate and to release a report and to do something about it.
Mhm.
And while he may have responded, it clearly did not rise to the level that we need in terms of the type of intentionality and alarm that, of what we're dealing with. And now he's under attack.
Right.
So it's like so many things happening at once. I have no idea how you navigate all of this, but you do it and you do it well. So let's talk about where we are now. There's no new jobs report. So they are intentionally holding the numbers on all people. Am I right about that? Or do you feel like you,
We have some December numbers. We
oh,
do, we
wonderful.
do, yeah, we do have some December numbers. And so Black women's unemployment went from, I think, 7.1 to 7.3%.
Mm,
And Black men's unemployment is still over 6%. And overall unemployment for everyone but us is at 4.3. Okay.
wow.
And it's really interesting how you started out with Chairman Powell. You said you were lobbying him for the Fed to do their job, right? Because I'm very big on that. It's like push people in the roles they're already in to do their job.
That's
And
right.
the Federal Reserve has a statutory mandate of maximum employment. And so
Mm,
you have a five-alarm fire and a crisis, like hundreds of thousands of Black women, families, and futures being disrupted
that's
because
right.
70% of Black women are the primary uh,
Caretakers of our families.
earners,
Breadwinners.
breadwinners,
Right,
uh,
breadwinners, right.
in their families. And to your point, you said you were lobbying him and now he's being attacked. Well, that actually speaks to what's happening with Black women is that we're the canaries in the coal mine. So we
Mm,
initially bear the brunt of the harm, but the harm is coming for everyone. And so this is what happens in this Trump administration, right? So people think I'm going to be exempt from the harm. My whiteness can save me. I'm going to be exempt from the harm. My geography can save me. I'll be exempt from the harm because I'm a citizen. I'll be exempt from the harm because I'm wealthy. They might have a little bit more connections, actually. But, the point is this tsunami of harm is coming for everyone. And so with Black women, what we're saying is this is a devastating economic indicator of what is to come for everyone. And if
mm.
crisis were happening for white women, you would be talking about 3 million plus white women that are suddenly out of the labor force. And we know there would be a plan. So what we're saying is do your job. and develop, analyze the data, come up with a strategic plan of action, and then implement it. Now, he did respond. So I asked him for two things in the initial letter. One, defend Lisa Cook. Okay.
Mm. Right.
Was,
Right.
one of the governors in the Federal Reserve Board who was being attacked by Trump, who every day is, weaponizing his Department of Justice against Black women. And then the second was to do their job, maintain their independence, because they're not meant to be a political entity. And secondly, maximum employment, analyze what's happening to Black women and come up with a plan. He wrote back, it was insufficient. He said they're tracking it and all that. And so now we're asking him to come and brief the Congressional Black Caucus. So we want to report, but we also want you to come and present to the Congressional Black Caucus. And I know we're
So
not going, I know we're getting tight on time, but the point is
it's
that
okay.
this is about Black women, Black families, Black futures, and it has devastating implications. Black women comprise 12% of the federal workforce, which he took a sledgehammer to, and they have defunded and dismantled diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in the private sector, most Black women held those jobs. So it's
Mm.
it's it's completely devastating.
So can you speak to this 3 million number that you just stated? Because myself and, we're in a group of women, Black women who are very concerned about this at the highest levels, from Melanie Campbell of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and the Black Women's Roundtable, Bishop Leah
Bishop,
Daughtry anyway, Leah Daughtry has so
yeah,
many positions.
Brittany, Felicia,
If I start
yeah,
trying to explain it,
it's
I'll
a
never get
coalition.
through. It's a coalition of people. Felicia Butterfield Jones, who is doing the work of trying to help put resources in the pockets of these women, like real hand to hand, here's money for your rent. Um, and we've been saying that the 300,000 number that we've heard over and over again, it has been sort of, in every article, people are talking about 300,000 Black women have been pushed out of the workforce. We know that number is a grave undercount.
Absolutely.
It's obviously more than that. I saw somewhere, maybe around October, that people were estimating around 800,000 women. But I just heard you say a number that I would like for you to just talk about a little bit more, because clearly you have more data and understanding than those of us who are, are
No,
not in your
not at
position.
all. I'm just saying it's the equivalency. So it was
Equivalency. Mhm.
about, so I don't know, what was it, July to September, maybe we had
Mm,
that 320,000 Black women that had been pushed,
right,
right? And then they fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because they didn't like the data they were coming up with. Then we had the government shutdown. We didn't have any numbers. Then we came out of the shutdown and the numbers had skyrocketed. And that continues to happen with the December numbers that were just released. And so basically, what I'm saying is that at the rate with which Black women are being pushed out of the labor force, if white women were being pushed
it's
out at the
right.
same rate and at the number that we currently are aware of, okay, you're right,
Aware of.
it is undercounted, you would be talking about the equivalent of 3 million white women. So that's like the entire, labor force of white women. I don't know, it's either for Ohio or Pennsylvania. I don't remember the
Mm,
context. But the point is, you would be ringing all types of bells and
right.
alarms. I just think in the normalized anti-blackness, and the pain and struggle of Black folk and Black women, that it is so, the pain of Black women is so unremarkable.
Mm,
It's so
mm,
it's unremarkable to people. Black women dying of sepsis and parking lots because doctors won't treat them or didn't believe their pain. Black women unable to provide for their families or to be caregivers. Black women not being paid comparable to our to our peers. I mean, I could go on and on.
right.
So the point is, if this was 3 million white women, there'd be a plan of action.
Right. Right.
So we're
Right.
saying, I need you to match the energy. Whatever you
Right.
be doing for everybody else, we need you to do for
Do the
us.
same thing. And
And
instead, it's intentional. And so it's going in the opposite direction, which means it's more and more and more of us who are being pushed out. And
right.
it's not because we're not qualified. It's not because, there's just no money and all the things. We've heard everything, the economy, this. No, actually, it is an intentional destabilization plan for the Black community. And anybody who cannot see or does not understand that is, I don't know what you're paying. He said he loves the uneducated, or the uneducated love him. So and I know this is not your words. The Congresswoman did not say that. I am saying that that's what the President of the United States said. So
He
there are
didn't say
people
it either.
in high places who clearly don't, I don't know why they're not getting to your point that this is going to connect eventually to the entire economy. It does not stay contained. Everybody that I know, my jeweler, the guy who owns a restaurant in my community, and the restaurant owner is actually like, he's apolitical, as they say. So he could be Trump, he could be Kamala, he could be, he's all over the place depending on his values and his needs. And he's like, yo, I don't know what's going on with money. Like people are not spending for, because when Black women when our economy is not properly fueled, the
Exactly.
rest of society suffers.
Tamika,
So,
you thank you for illustrating that, because even though I would like for people to just care about the Black family and how this is devastating to the
right,
Black family, there is a residual impact, because
that's
that
right.
means the dollars that we use to tithe at church are not happening. The dollars that we stored for philanthropy are not happening. The dollars that we invest in our beauty and our maintenance are not happening. The dollars that we spend in at the dry cleaners, at a restaurant, at a coffee shop are not happening. So it does have implications for everyone. But I also mean that these unemployment numbers will continue to rise for everyone. Black folks will feel the brunt, right? Because it's always been true. When everyone else catches a cold, Black folks catch pneumonia. So that's always going to be true. But make no mistake about it, the harm is coming for everyone. And so,
Absolutely.
what is the path forward as we close here? It's the acknowledgement that our freedoms and our destinies are tied. This is a
Mm,
moment for solidarity. This is a moment for stamina, which is why
mm,
I have been, to your point about what can people do and this. I mean, be thoughtful about where you stored your dollars.
that's right.
The boycott that you've been a leader in and a part of, I've been so impressed with that, because I think we admire what our ancestors did, but we don't have the same stamina. You know,
That's right.
our faith is shallow
That's
and our
right.
boycotts are short-lived because folks don't want to be inconvenienced. So the fact that that has gone on this long is really a testament to your leadership and your commitment and that of the movement. And this has to be a movement. I'm sorry, the stakes are too high and no one can be on the sidelines.
So, Madam Congresswoman,
Yeah.
we've heard your call to abolish ICE. And the light of what's been happening, the death of Renee Good, the the young man who was also killed. What's his? Wait, hold on one second.
Steve Porter. No, I got you.
Steve Porter.
I got
Okay.
them all. Yeah.
Yes, the
Don't
death
try
of
to skip
Renee
time.
Good.
I got it. Yeah.
Exactly. And the death of Mr. Porter. Like it seems like ICE is completely out of control.
Mhm.
Like there's no, I don't even understand how they got this crazy. Now every video, every day I see a video where the way that they're addressing just average citizens is just unreal. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, my son. So here's the thing. So I've been in Congress now for 8 years. When I ran in 2018, I was one of the candidates that, ran on the need to um, abolish this rogue racist agency. That's why I do believe that Congress should be using its power of the purse and the appropriations to rein in ICE, because I do not believe it is an agency that can be reformed. This is, deeply systemic and cultural. The most violent instances that we have seen are those that capture, our attentions and break our hearts, but there are violations and constitutional abuses and violations of human rights that are occurring every day, not just in our streets, by these masked thugs. Who have been emboldened and empowered both by federal funding and also with the rhetoric of Donald Trump. Know that what they are doing has nothing to do with public safety and everything to do with public terror. They are sowing chaos. They are terrorizing communities. They are separating families. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen. It doesn't matter if you're undocumented. It doesn't matter if you're black, brown, white. It doesn't matter if you're young or old. This terror is coming for everyone as long as we fund this and empower this. And so my heart goes out to Renee Good's family. She was an artist, a mother, a wife, a community activist who cared about her neighbors, who was gunned down, unarmed in a residential community, shot 3 times in her car. My heart also breaks for, so that was Renee Good in Minnesota. There's a Black man who was loved by many and cherished by his community, Keith Porter in Los Angeles, who was also killed by ICE. And then Silvario Gonzalez in Chicago, a father beloved, killed by ICE. And then behind the walls, my son, there have been at least 30 people who have lost their lives while they have been detained in ICE facilities. And I want to close and say this to my Black brothers and sisters. If you care about mass incarceration, then you should care about mass kidnappings. I can't call them mass deportations because how they're doing it is unlawful and there's no due process. But these are all a part of the same two-sided evil coin of white supremacy and for-profit benefit. The same corporations that benefit from mass incarceration of poor folk, of Black folk, are the same corporations that are incentivized to detain and to warehouse the undocumented and increasingly many citizens in these ICE detention facilities. It is all connected. It is all profit driven, and it is inhumane and it is cruel. So if you care about mass incarceration, you have to care about these mass kidnappings. And that's why I do believe Congress has to use the power of the purse. We need to, in our appropriations process, rein in ICE. It cannot be reformed. It is a racist, rogue, lawless entity that is making all of us less safe. I mean, I'll ask people watching, do you feel more safe?
Mhm. That's a question that I want to hear the answer to. But as we close, I just want to say thank you for what you do. And I pray over you all the time because I know that you fight. And I hope that you're doing everything necessary to to relax, to get mental health, because I know that I deal with Tamika on a regular basis and I know the amount of pressure that she deals with. I know the backlash, the death threats, and I know that you're experiencing those same things. So I just want to say that we pray for you. We pray over you. You know, in the moment that Tiana Taylor just won this award, is one
Yeah.
battle after another. Black women always have a battle after another. So I want you to know that we're here to protect you and we love you and continue to be great.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. I appreciate you for standing up for Black women. It makes me emotional because who's going to fight for us? You know, who's going to be there for us? And I know your colleagues have joined you in these conversations. And so we're not saying that no one is there. I don't ever want to make people feel like the work that they are doing is not important. But you've been a leader. You're sticking your neck out, as they say, in a way for us and for our communities that will go down in history. And so I just thank you for standing up for me, and like it's personal. You know, I can feel it personal to me because I know that when Black women are impacted, our families struggle in a big way. And I also want to make sure that Black men know you're a part of this conversation because
Absolutely.
6% of Black men unemployed is devastating to our families, to our community, to our children. And so it's not that we're only talking about Black women. We're just leading with what we know has been an intentional dismantling of our communities, but Black men are also a part of the conversation.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. But that's why the movement is Black women, Black families, Black
Okay.
futures.
That's right.
That's right.
Thank
Once
you for
again, man.
having me. I hope it won't be the last time. Thank you so
Definitely
much.
won't.
All right.
Appreciate you.
See you.
Thank you. Oh, the hearts. I love it. Once again, I want to show love to Congresswoman Ayyanna Pressley. You know, that what she does is just amazing. In that interview, just watching y'all, I didn't even really have to ask no questions. Just watching two powerful Black women who just understand and identify with the call and the seriousness of now and just talk about it was enough for me. Just being there. I could have been a fly on the wall, like I always say.
I think the conversation is so important because she's actually leading her alongside Jasmine Crockett. I mean, the Black women are up there tearing it up every day. every day. And that's why I am constantly in defense of them, and why I don't sit and allow people like Stephen A. Smith and others to speak ill about these women. Not that they shouldn't be critiqued, but you need to be very mindful and careful of what you say and how you say it, because there are certain ones of us that are doing the job of many. Like certain Black women are out here doing the job of so many others that should be speaking up, that should be speaking out. And instead, we find ourselves most comfortable with critiquing the work of Black women and critiquing how they speak, what they wear, where they go, where we go, and how, and being sort of like the what's the word I'm looking for, the judge of everything we do. And yet we're putting our lives on the line in ways that other people can't claim. And so I feel we have to defend the honor of Black women like Congresswoman Ayyanna Pressley. She needs the support. And we want to not just pray for her, but to actually stand in the gap and make sure that whenever somebody has anything negative to say about our sister, that we put her record out there to show that what she's doing on behalf of our communities will, again, as I keep saying it, go down in history as being the work that was done to save our people and to create a better world and society for our children. She said something today that I thought was so important, which is that she's not here to soften the blow. She's here for progress. And that's what we're talking about.
Every day, man. I say all the time, there's a few of us who were built for a time such as now. And she's one of the fighters on the front line, taking the blows, taking the fire, but always speaking truth to power. And what Congresswoman Pressley said about ICE is an excellent segue. That brings me to my I don't get it. Now, with this whole situation with ICE, the lady losing her life, I put up another video with a young man who was in his car who was being harassed by ICE. Numerous videos, another young man beat, one thrown out his car. And the common, comment that I keep hearing is those ain't Black people, those are Somali people, or those is Haitian people, or those is Mexican people. And what I don't get is how have we allowed these people to separate us based on the language that we speak, or the island that the slave ship that we was on dropped us off to. Like, how are we so divided? I never hear white people talk about, well, those are European white people, or those are from the Ukraine white people, or those are Russia. I never see them separate. I never see them divide each other. I never see them say, hey, they not white because they from this country or for that country. They unify. And they're doing that in this moment. If you look at what ICE is doing, I don't see where they grabbing up the white immigrants. I don't see where they ambushing, they going into communities where the Russians is, or the Ukrainians is, or the Yugoslavians. I don't see where they're ambushing those communities saying you speaking this kind of language, so we throwing you in the back of a bus, or we throwing you to the floor. We need to see your identification. How did we allow them to separate us and divide us like that? How we keep getting tricked out of our spot. I had this conversation with a person yet. They said, oh, we foundation Black people. We from here. Those people are not from here. And I'm like, they don't care about that. They just care that they Black people. And that's the reason why they want them out, because they want to get their numbers up. They want to make sure that they completely dominate this country. And they're making sure that they bring white people that speak whatever language from whatever country. They're letting them in here. So why you don't see the play? Why do we keep falling for the same play? It's annoying to me that people come on my page. Well, you need to know that those Somalis. I know it's times when them Somalis first came here, we wasn't nice to them. I know when the Africans first came here, we wasn't nice to them. So of course, we've been taught white supremacy has divided us from the beginning. We've always had clashes with different people from different places, especially our own, because we've been taught that. But we got to learn something different, because they're using the same exact playbook over and over. And it just annoys me that we keep falling for the same shit. For me, whether it's Somalian, whether it's Haitian, whether it's Mexican, whether it's dark skin, anybody who's melanated and pigmented, are the people that they're attacking, and those are the people I'm fighting for. So I don't know how we done. Like when I was having this conversation with an individual, I remember going to Ghana, and we were talking to our tour guide, who happens to be a pastor and actually know a lot about the history. And he explained to us how a lot of us were dropped off on different islands, right? It's not that we're not the same people or they're not come from our bloodline. When we left Ghana, they took us to Spanish speaking islands. They took us to French speaking islands. They dropped us off on different islands. And we act like we ignore that reality. And we are able, I can look at somebody that looks like somebody in my family and they speak a different language and say, well, they not black. Like, how did we get brainwashed like that?
I mean, I think that all of us, this is one of those moments in history where, as we were just saying with the Congresswoman, this is one of the moments in history that all of us will have to pay for. We're all going to have to deal with the after effects of the moment that we're in. Because at every part of our existence, right, there have been people who made it okay or made excuses for white supremacy. And so that's what you see happening now, is that there are folks who are making excuses for something that later on in life, this is going to be written in history as one of the worst moments in in our time, in our history on this earth. It is going to be just like the Holocaust. It is going to be looked at as something at the level of, I want to make sure to give it the right words. It is going to be deemed, if you will, a humanitarian crisis. It is going to be deemed the most egregious act of the 21st century. I mean, this is going to be something that in history books and museums and uh, uh, what else? Documentaries, and people are going to be talking about what happened in this time. And your children will ask you, what side did you stand on? Where were you during this? Did you agree that it was okay to snatch people off the streets that don't harm us in any way, shape, or form? Do you, or will you be willing to say to your children that at this point in our existence, we allowed ourselves to believe that a person who owns a daycare center in Minnesota is worse than the person who's sitting in a government office or in a corporation that is robbing our communities blind, that won't even hire people who look like us? And even if they do, the exploitation is so real. These folks are in the process of a reconstruction era. And the sad part about it is that in every one of these periods in history, there are folks who believe that they are going to benefit from white supremacy. They believe that if they either stay below the radar or if they go along with the plan and they act like, or maybe truly do agree with it, they believe that somehow it is going to save them, and that because of a proximity to whiteness and or to this evil bullcrap that they have going on here, that they will benefit and that their families will somehow be made whole. And what we have found in history over and over and over again is that it never works out that way. Instead, the storyline will be told that we all either sat back and participated in it, or sat back and did nothing, or we participated in one of the most evil acts of this time that we are walking the face of the earth. And I just won't be a part of it. I'm like you. I'm going to stand and fight and speak and struggle and be in this work. I want my granddaughter and my great grandchildren to look at me and say, Grandma, you were on the right side. You were on the right side. You did the right thing. And so, that's the deal. Let me just say, we talked about some of the data earlier in the show. And just to reiterate, the younger people voted more than 50%, and people up to about 45 years old voted more than 50% for uh, voted more than 50% for Kamala Harris. And then we know that in New York City, we had an overwhelming turnout of young people to vote for Mamdani. So our success and the story of resilience and the story of justice is buried in our children. It is planted rather in our children. And for me, I know that the young people will want to know where we stood in this time, and I want to be, as I said, on the right side of history.
I want to be on the right side of history too. And I want to give a shout out to Mark Ruffalo. I seen a video where he was at the Golden Globes and they were asking him questions and everybody was happy. And he said, I can't pretend like what's going on in this world is not going on. I can't pretend that a woman didn't lose her life. I can't pretend that ICE agents aren't grabbing people and kidnapping people off the streets. I can't pretend that this economy and people can't pay their bills and they don't have health care. Like I just can't sit around here and pretend. I want to. I love all these people, but we are really in a serious time. And that took a lot. I've been around him a lot. He's a good friend of our friend Julian Hoffenberg, and he's a good dude. And just hearing him say that, seeing him stand in that moment when everybody else was just, and they should be. You've worked hard, you're enjoying the moment, and sometimes you take that moment to enjoy and just get away from the reality. But he wanted to center the reality of what we're dealing with, and I just want to give him a shout out because it was brave and it wasn't a comfortable moment to do that.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. I didn't see that, so I got to check it out. I
Yeah,
love.
you got. Yeah, he's one of the real ones, man.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of TMI. Make sure you follow us at TMI_show on Instagram and TMI Show PC on YouTube. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.